Well, I've picked some scraps of collage papers that I have left over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack them down to the polymer surface that's dried. So I will just randomly put some papers down on each one of these. I'm eventually going to use acrylic paint and push this back and actually even cover over these papers. A practice that's I'm learning to do and is hard to do for a lot of us, is to lay down papers and then push them back or cover them up. Alright, I'm going to leave that for that one there. I'm going to tear up some paper here. Actually, put it here off to the side. My clock. It is a white-throat sparrow. Okay, and we'll do a hint of this here. Okay. Now again, these are exercises, so it really doesn't matter too much about placement as what I'm going to do. I'm just going to practice on here. Let's try doing one. We've got it going vertical and we've got a horizontal. I never know how the papers need to be laid out until I place them. And I really kind of go on, that's not balanced, that's too much. So I'm going to leave this at this right now. And what I'm going to do is bring in a safety release sheet. This is a technique I learned from Jonathon Talbot. I was already creating collage papers, found papers, repurposing them, and coating them with just matte medium. But this technique of using the tack iron and fusing them in place, I'm quite fond of. So I've been using that now for the last 10 years. This is a tack iron. I've got it set about 350, which is about 350 degrees. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fuse this to the surface that's already been dried with polymer medium. And I really need to heat this up. So the safety release sheet allows the heat to go through. Ooh, that's hot. But it doesn't stick to it because it's got a silicone base on it on both sides. Sometimes you can, if you don't, this has got a silicone base. This is left over from your staples, from your labels. This here, this one side I would touch with the tack iron, and then this side here is a silicone layer. So if you can't find it around, you can always use, there's always a resource to repurpose and use things. I find from the Avery labels or the staple labels or your office labels that you use, I can find that that works. This is a smaller sheet that I have. It's a little thicker safety release sheet. If you've ever done or seen anybody do dry mounting, it is about the same. You put a layer on top of it and you fuse with heat. and seal in, like if you're going to do a poster or something like that. It's like laminating too. It's a heat process. People like to ask, how long should I do this and apply the heat? And I like to just think in my mind, you know what, I'm going over all these papers and I really need this heat, that 350 degrees to heat up this area and really fuse it. So take your time. I know I like to rush, kind of move it around, but it's best if you take your time. Okay, and here I have it tacked down. It's not coming up. And the same here. Sometimes it may come up around the edges because they're torn and there isn't any polymer. You might tear that off. Alright, now I'm going to let these cool and I'll bring some acrylics to the surface and we'll push the papers back or cover them up to see what happens.